Everybody, and welcome to another 190th birthday episode of Phil and the Mikey. I'm Darren Michael, and with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Phil Calise, who actually you can look at him right now. You can see his eyes are barely even open. He's so exhausted. He took the red eye last night. He was in LA on the UCLA campus because he's part of the voting committee that approved UCLA's big move to the Big Ten in 2024. Phil, I know the vote was 11-6, man, but was that some tense negotiations in that room?
Yeah, very tense because everybody was going, you want to be in Indiana in November? Are you guys out of your mind? You guys sure about this? And
Really?
and what
What?
about the women's volleyball team? We're going to Happy Valley in early December? This seems like a bad idea.
You know
Yeah.
what? I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, I think it might come across wrong, but cold weather, tight t-shirts. Anyway, the
Oh
mind
boy.
just wanders. The mind just
Yeah, the
wanders.
mind does wander.
So I wanted to, before we start, I just wanted to wish a happy birthday to Jonathan the Tortoise, who the other day turned 190 years old. Did you know that the average lifespan of a tortoise is like 150 years old, those giant tortoises?
I did not know that. Thank you.
So here's my question. Here's my question. If you were to come back as an animal, would you pick a tortoise because you would live such a long life, even though everywhere you go, you have to bring your home with you on your back?
No, come back as a gazelle and just bust people up in races all day.
Oh, yeah, but all you're doing is running from lions. All,
I don't
that's all you
care.
do.
I don't care. I've never been that fast. I want to see what life is that fast. That's all.
Oh man, but I don't know. It's kind of a feel good story. I think they take really good care of this guy. I don't know how they know he's 190. I guess they asked him. I don't know. I don't know. He's I'm 190. I mean, what is it? You
Uh,
remember that song that came out? What does a fox say? Do.
what
What
does the
about
yeah.
what does the tortoise say? I mean, dude,
The
is
tortoise
any
doesn't speak because
just
that's how he gets to 190.
that's right. He just blends into the background. You never hear him. Well, you have to see him because he's so big, but
The
like
tortoise is the ultimate couch potato. He's the animal couch potato.
that is true. That's true. He never gets off his couch. Yeah, I never even
Yeah.
thought about that. I never even thought about that. But I thought we would have a little bit of fun today. We haven't done this in a while. You like to think of yourself as a football savant, I see.
Yes, sir.
And I think that you generally think of yourself as a well-versed overall sports fan, right?
Minus hockey.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to give you six trivia
The
questions.
fix is in, folks. I'm being set up.
I want to see. Now, I understand like on this show, I know we concentrate on our sports. We concentrate on specific sports, and there's other sports that we don't talk about. So,
It's our show. We pick the things that make
right,
us happiest.
exactly. So, I'm going to ask you a few things that we don't talk about. All right, and let's
Okay.
see how you do. All right.
All right.
And all right. Currently, who has the best record in the NBA?
Um,
At 22-7.
Celtics.
That is correct. Wow, I'm impressed. Who is the current NBA scoring leader?
Luca.
That is not correct. He was recently overtaken by
He was the leader for most of the NBA season.
Joel Embiid is averaging
Uh,
33.3. Luca is averaging 33.0.
all
But
right.
it's a good guess. Good guess. NCAA men's basketball number one ranked team.
I'm gonna name a team that either just beat number one or is number one.
Okay.
Alabama.
I think Alabama's like top five, but Purdue is actually the number one team.
The Boilermakers.
I didn't see that either. That came out of no. I
Cool.
saw that the other day. I think
Alabama maybe had just knocked off whoever was number one before Purdue. I think is
yeah,
what I might have said. Obviously,
Alabama's
they're in the top
doing
five,
really
so
well.
they're doing well. Yeah.
Yeah. Purdue. I think preseason Purdue was like 23rd, something. I mean,
Wait,
they've
I got a
just skyrocketed.
funny anecdote about now that you just brought up the college basketball rankings. So my oldest son Dominic likes to check out college basketball rankings, even though he's much more versed in college football. And
Okay.
like a month ago, he's like, "Oh, North Carolina's number one." Like, he follows ACC more than anything because Notre Dame. He's like, oh, North Carolina's #1, Dad. Like a week ago, he goes, Dad, they're not even ranked, North Carolina.
Isn't
I
that
go, I
crazy?
told you, I go, college basketball is different than college football. I go, you would never say that in college football. A team would never, they get them wrong, but the #1 team in college football never goes unranked usually.
Yeah.
I'm like, college basketball's wacky, dude.
It's it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at the rankings right now.
North
You know,
Carolina was, I think, the first #1 team, or maybe, I don't
they
know.
were #1 for a while. But it's funny because you know how it shows like the top 25 and then it shows others receiving
Yeah,
votes.
yeah,
They're not even on that list.
yeah. They must have lost a ton of games. All right, go ahead.
So
Let's power
yeah,
through.
yeah.
I had, I
Anyway,
had,
okay.
I was good on most of my guesses. I thought Luca was definitely correct. I didn't know he got overtaken like last night, so that sucks.
To be honest with you, I did this the other day and I had his name written and then I went back this morning to look and I saw that it was overtaken. So I was as surprised as you were, let's be honest. Number 4, who will be playing in the World Cup finals?
That would be France and Argentina.
Good man, guys.
Yeah,
I knew you were a closet soccer fan. I knew it.
let's go. I like
I
Messi.
knew it.
I like Messi. I've watched. You know what I do? I go
You are
YouTube.
messy.
I go YouTube highlights. 4 minutes. It's the only way to make soccer exciting. Because,
Well,
and by the way, it's the only sport where in the 4 minutes of highlights, 80% of it is just like near misses.
yeah, it's all in your misses.
They're
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
oh, he almost scored. We're like, yay, he
I
almost
know.
scored.
Oh,
Yay.
he had a shot on goal. All right,
Imagine MLB highlights where it's like a long fly ball caught at the wall. Cool, bro. Love it.
or
A warning track shot made the
or
highlights.
there's another one or NBA. Oh, he shoots the three. Oh, it's an air ball. All right,
No,
let's
it
go
would be
back
in and
to it.
out. Oh, Steph Curry with 2 in and outs in a row. This is riveting.
Why don't
Soccer.
they ever? Because why don't they ever track that? Yes, Steph Curry sets the record for 4 in and outs in one quarter.
That would be awesome stats if they flashed it. Curry, 13 of 24 in and out. Awesome. I know.
So close.
So
Yeah, it doesn't
close.
count for anything. All right, number 5. Name the baseball team that has been owned by one family currently for the longest amount of time. They have owned this team since 1973.
The baseball family, you said?
There's yes,
There's one family that.
of listen,
Oh,
baseball teams
the
change
Steinbrenners.
ownership.
The
The
Steinbrenners.
Steinbrenners, that is
Yeah.
correct.
I was
That
just
is
making. Okay,
correct.
got it.
Yeah. And last but not least, and this is probably an easy question too.
Well,
Alex Ovechkin scored his 800th career NHL goal. Who's ahead of him? There's 2 guys ahead of him. Who are they?
the great one.
The great one at 894.
You think that's easy, but I told you hockey at the beginning. That was my preamble that I'm not a big hockey guy. I'm gonna go with one that's like a wheelhouse from my era, which either means.
Okay, right now that's wrong.
All right, hold on. Thank you. It's not from my era.
No. Don't you remember? I mean, listen, I wouldn't have given you an NHL question if it wasn't pretty easy.
Well, there was 2 guesses I had in my head, and I guess they're both terrible.
Well,
One was
Brett.
Mario Lemieux.
No.
But he was younger. I think and then the other one was Brett Hull.
No, listen, both those guys scored a ton of goals. I think they're both in like the top 5, but
Those were my 2 guys.
This is the guy Gretzky shattered all his records.
Oh, yeah, but this is like
This is a super. He's one of the most famous hockey players of all time. So once I tell you the answer, you're going to be kicking yourself. I know that.
Is it the guy Gordy, whatever his name is?
It is Gordie Howe. Yeah.
Okay.
It is Gordie Howe.
I needed another second. I bounced back.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'll give it to you anyway. I'll give it to you. Dude, that was impressive.
My 2 guesses were good though.
Dude, that was
Hull and Lemieux.
Those were good guesses. Let me tell you something, man. You did really well in this, and you know what? Honestly, you would have gotten them all right if this was yesterday.
I know that's just
right.
Matter of inches.
I mean, you missed it by this much,
Usually trivia questions don't change day to day, but that one did. And
I know. I know. It's interesting, dude. Man, you're good. You're really
I'm
good.
changing this to sports savant next time,
You
not
you
football savant.
I think you need to. You need to change that to 4 minute soccer savant. That's who you
Look at
are.
that. Look at
You
that. Yeah,
know, you're well versed in those 4 minutes, you know.
that's it.
I think we need to come up with our own fill in the mic stats. And I think we need
I
to
love
start with near makes, in and outs. That's where
it.
we need to start, you know. Or what about a stat? How many times a kicker has hit
The
the pole
crossbar. I know.
crossbar, you know?
We should call this segment. We should call the segment off the post.
Off the post. Oh, I like that. Off the post. Off the post. So let's jump into this. Now, as you know, this time of year, there's always just a crazy baseball free agent frenzy. And that's what I call it because I think there's been over $3 billion in contracts given out in this off
Probably.
season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I want to do is I've got a list of about 15 guys. I want to run through it really quickly and I want you to give me your grade on all these. And if you feel like you want to say something about them, feel free. But I want
I'm
to,
taking into account the money, the years, the whole package, right? Not just like is the player good. I'm
right,
grading the whole
and the team, and the team
and
that
the
signed
team
him.
fit and everything. I'm
Right,
putting
right,
the
right,
whole
right.
thing together. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just kind of off the cuff, I want to
Yep.
hear what you have to say because listen, there's some great contracts out there, and there's some
Yep.
scary contracts out there. I think the last one that was signed is kind of a scary contract, but that's just me. All right. Xander Bogaerts signed with San Diego because they love having as many shortstops as they possibly can on that roster.
Well, one's a steroid junkie who falls off his motorcycle, so you need protection against that.
Well, this is protection, all right. 11 years, $280 million. How do you grade that one?
I'm gonna give that one actually a B plus,
B plus?
and the B plus grade is because um, I think Xander Bogarts is someone that isn't a superstar. So it's going to sound a little weird. I think because he's in a really good lineup, he'll excel even more. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think he
yeah.
would go somewhere and be the man that you would just say, here's my cleanup hitter or something.
Yep, yep.
But I think he fits really well there. And I do think when you see these contracts and you're going to go through a litany of them, like the 11 years, a lot of these smart organizations are giving the longer years to lower the AAV for luxury tax
That's
purposes.
true. That's true.
They're not really assuming the guy's going to be good for 11 years, but they're saying at 27.5 million or whatever, that's something we can absorb versus
Yep.
35 million a year on a shorter term deal. So
It's true.
I
It's
give it
true.
a B. I give that
It
one a
makes
B
sense.
plus. I like that one.
Okay, so that's San Diego. Yeah, and it's funny because San Diego never had any money, and then all of a sudden they're spending all this money on free agents. I don't know how that
San Diego hit the
came about.
Powerball. They're the Powerball team of the MLB.
I love it. I love it. So, how about this guy? I don't even know who this is, but you're a big Mets fan. Brandon Nimmo or Nemo. I don't know.
Nemo. It's Nemo. It's
It's
Nemo.
not Nemo because we okay. I was gonna try to find him. 8 years, $162 million. Who the hell is this guy? I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, he's their center fielder. He's a good player.
Is he good? Is he 20 million a year good?
No, he's a homegrown kid. I'm gonna be fair about this. I'm gonna give this a C minus. No, I'm gonna give it a C plus, and I'll give you my rationale. It's a D if you look at um, the player and the money and the years probably. Why it's a C plus though is organizational fit and lack of center fielders in free agency. So
Yeah,
unlike
yeah,
last year when there was like 43 shortstops that hit the market, this year there was literally Brandon Nimmo and Cody Bellinger who hit the market as center fielders. And Cody Bellinger was off of two of the worst years of all time. And so there was two guys. And so
yep,
if you hit free agency at the right year, and there's very few options. I know a lot of in the Met world, even Met fans who love Brandon Nimmo is the kind of baseball player you just love because he walks and he sprints to first. Like he's an old school throwback. He plays a
mm,
really good center field. He hustles his butt off. He's a war guy. He's an on base analytic guy. He gets on base a lot. He walks a lot. He gets hit by a lot of pitches. He's the leadoff hitter on the team who won 101 games. So for the Mets, they couldn't afford to lose him, and there
yeah.
was nothing they could replace him with in the open market. So there was talk the Mets were going to go trade for a center fielder and give up like three prospects, and so they decided to just overpay their own guy.
That
But I
makes
still
sense.
only give it a C plus because again, I don't think the contract is going to look great in a few years. But
Yeah.
I get why they did it, but that's why it's still a C plus.
I understand. Let's stick with the Mets. How about Justin Verlander? 2 years, $86 million, or about 4 times the Orioles payroll.
Yeah, I mean, this is the replacement to DeGrom. They needed to replace DeGrom. It's almost impossible to replace DeGrom. I'm going to give this an A minus because it's a short-term deal. And for those that would say, well, how do you give a 40-year-old 2-year deal, whatever, at that kind of money? You got to think about it. The guy just won the Cy Young in the American League. So he just came back from 2 years with Tommy John. So in some ways, he has a new arm.
Yep.
And he just won the Cy Young. So it's not like you're like, oh, is he good anymore? No, he just won the Cy Young. So I could see that. I give it an A minus because I don't think you could do better if you're going to lose DeGrom. I don't think you could find a better replacement.
And the funny thing is, there's
For
a lot
2
of
years.
there's a lot of Cy Young guys that get signed to big deals, Robbie Ray, and don't pan out. I mean, this is a guy.
This is a guy who's long history.
Yeah, this is different because before Tommy John he won the Cy Young. After Tommy John he won the Cy Young. I mean, this guy is just. I mean, he
He's a
just keeps getting
horse.
better.
He's a
He just
horse.
keeps getting better. So it's it's a good move. It's a good move. Let's move let's save that one till later. What about let's stick with the theme. How about your boy? How do you even pronounce his name? Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker. He was a very strong Met last year, and he decided to go to the free spending Philadelphia Phillies at 4 years, $72 million. On the surface, for a quality starting pitcher, that seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I'm gonna give so this one is like I'm gonna give it a grade based on my projection and my thought of him, recognizing he's gonna be one of those bigger question mark guys. So I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Okay.
But he pitched awful the second half of the year before for the Mets. He had the first half good. He signed a 2-year deal with the Mets. The first half he was good. The last half he was terrible. This past year he was actually really good for the Mets. Very consistent.
Yeah.
Those are his two best years he's ever had. So the year before, his second half fell apart. I think he had like a 7 ERA in the second half of the season.
Oh wow.
Last year he was solid all year for the Mets. Did they overpay? I don't know. That's why I'm giving it a B minus. Like if he's just coming into his own, it's a really good deal. If last year, which was his first full consistent year where he didn't have a huge hiccup anywhere during the season, if last year's the aberration, like a lot of guys in their walk year put their best year together, then I think this contract's going to look bad. I don't know what it is. I'm giving it a B minus because I'm kind of hedging a little. I'm not sure. He had one really good year for the Mets.
Well, with today's market, I mean that it seems like a reasonable amount if the guy can stay healthy and pitch well,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of are you getting last year's Taijuan Walker or like his track record, which is kind of
All right. And then speaking of more Mets news, and I know you mentioned his name before, Jacob deGrom, 5 years, $185 million to go to the Rangers. And it was funny because I was reading an article the other day, and it said they were talking about that trade, and it said even mistakes are bigger in Texas. Do you agree with that comment?
Listen, Met fans are jaded on Jacob deGrom because he was underpaid in 2018 when he signed the extension.
Yeah.
But then he didn't pitch for like 2.5 years. So it's hard to be underpaid when you never take the ball. So it was a weird dynamic. Met fans were a little bit aggravated with him. Then we're finally excited to get him back last year, halfway through the year, and then he left. So Met fans are very jaded on him. I'm going to try to take an unbiased perspective of deGrom. If he gives you 4 healthy years out of 5, it's an A+ signing. If he gives you 3 healthy years, it's like a B- signing. I mean, and I don't know what he's going to give you. The idea he's going to give you 5 healthy years, it's a home run. It's the greatest signing of all time. The dude's pitched.
What's your gut? What's your gut saying? How healthy is he going to be over the next 5 seasons? How much of deGrom are they going to get? And that's what I want you to base your grade on. What you think they're going to get out of him. Listen, if they got 5 years of deGrom healthy, I mean, my God,
it's an A+, obviously. He's the best pitcher in baseball.
He's never pitched for 5 years in a row healthy.
No, he
So
hasn't. And he's had not one injury where it's like, oh, he had Tommy John and he's fine. He's had a lot of different injuries, elbow, inflammation, shoulder, this. Like he's had a lot. It's almost like he throws too hard for his body. Because he's not built like a big, strong, huge dude. He's like
that's true.
wiry and like skinny. I'm gonna go A minus. I'm gonna say they get 3.5 to 4 healthy years out of DeGrom. I'm gonna say he goes to the warm weather of Texas. He gets rejuvenated, and he does really well.
All right, cool, cool. I got a few more that I want to talk about, then we'll move on. Trey Turner, 11 years, 300 million to go to the Phillies. Now, the interesting thing about this is there are reports that come out that he actually turned down San Diego's $342 million offer. So he left $42 million on the table, which, yeah, go ahead.
I'm
What do
gonna
you
give
think?
two. I'm gonna give two grades. I'm gonna give him an F for his location choice. He chose Philly over San Diego. That's an F all day.
That is an F,
That nobody does that, so that's an F.
except for
I'm
Trey
gonna
Turner.
I'm gonna give the Phillies an A plus. I think it's a home run. I think it's the
Yeah.
best free agent signing of the season because again, the 11 years lowers his AAV. I
Yep.
love guys that want to embrace the Northeast tough cities. He wants to be a Philly. Harper wanted to be a Philly. Both of those signings look amazing, and so I think it's a great move. A plus.
And you know what? They got Harper on the same kind of deal.
Yep.
So Harper's
A
not
plus.
making what he probably could be making. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a good call. How about this one, man? This one's interesting. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I want to. Clayton Kershaw re-signed with the Dodgers, 1 year, $20 million. This guy, if you look at his 2021, he started 22 games, went 10-8 with a 3.55 ERA.
Yep.
Last year, he started 22 games again, went 12-3 with a 2.28 ERA. Now, this is a guy over the last 3 years has had some injury problems. Actually, you know what? He hasn't even started 30 games since
That's
2015.
why he's getting paid the way he is. He actually is on a workload management thing where I think he gets rests and it's just built in. So he's taking a little less money, so he knows they take care
I
of
mean,
him
you're basically
and
you're
they're
basically
extending his career.
paying the guy $1 million every time he takes the mound. Is this a good
Yeah, and
signing?
I'll give it a solid A minus because it's a homegrown guy, it's their guy, and they're paying him each year, 1 year at a time. They know what they're doing. They both agree to it in terms of like the it makes sense, and they just go year to year with it. He doesn't want to play anywhere else, and I don't think he will play anywhere else. So I like it.
It's good. It's good. And I got two more for you. One is Uh, Aaron Judge signs a 9 year, $360 million contract to return to the New York Yankees after he basically single-handedly won their division for them last year. He couldn't do everything. I think he just kind of ran out of gas at the end of the season. But $40 million a year for 9 years. What are your thoughts on that?
It's an A plus.
It really is. Yeah.
They have to. They had to give it to him. They had to give it to him. You take him off the team, they're a shell of what they are. Like it's a no-brainer. They had to pay them in. So is he overpaid? Yeah, like everybody else, but he had to be paid.
Yeah, no, I hear
Had
you.
to.
I hear you. Good, good. And then the last one, the one that keeps me scratching my head because I don't get this. I don't get this. I mean, Carlos Correa signed a 13-year, $350 million contract with the Giants. And I'm looking at this guy, and you just mentioned how the Yankees would be a shell without him. I mean, I'm looking at this guy like he's the shell of who he was, and everybody keeps talking about, oh, he had this huge resurgence last year. I'm looking at his stats, right? He batted 291, 22 home runs, and 65 RBIs. To me, that doesn't qualify you to be paid as probably the top shortstop in baseball. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on that because I think I think this is one of those cases where whoever his marketing team is and whoever his agent is
Boris, he had Boris. Oh, it's a Boris
deserves
guy.
a huge round of applause.
Yeah, it's an F. I don't like it. It's an F for a couple reasons. He's a very clutch postseason player, but you don't get paid 13 for 350 because you're a really good postseason player. His numbers are good, they're not great. He's never really been the best at his position.
No,
He's never
no.
really been a top 5 or top 10 hitter in baseball. He's like a really good player
Yep,
that just is going to go down as a guy who hit it at the right time with crazy money being handed out and he just
yep.
went along for the ride, but there's no way. No way that's worth it. No.
No. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I appreciate that. No, that's some good feedback. That's some good feedback. I want to jump to NFL because I know we got a lot to cover there, but that was fun. That was fun, the trivia. That was good talking about the free agency. I think it's interesting every year to see how these teams try to solve some of their needs and who's making the good picks and who's not making the good decisions. So anyway, last week, 2-2 and fill up your bank account. 0-1 on your lock. It was a tough week. I mean, you picked the Baltimore at Pittsburgh, which on the surface seemed like a great lock pick, but you just with those two teams, you just never know, man. It is just tough. But some of your other picks were really good. Um, I got six things that I wanted to go over with you, and then we'll get into your picks for the week. But so far, 27-21 on the season, 8-5. So you are still the football savant, and still making everybody money. So
So
congratulations there.
I'm at 27 and 20, 27 and 21, 9 and 5 best bets.
Oh, you
That's
got 9-5 best bet. Why do I got you at 8-5? I had you at I had you at no, I had you at 8-4, and now you're at
yeah,
eight and
but
five.
I know, but you had me. So there was a double best bet where I went to 9 and 3 from 7 and 3, and I think you never had the double best bet one built baked in.
Okay, all
I
right. So
took
you're
two best
all right.
bets one week. It was week
You
I don't
did.
know.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. You got me. You
it was
got
the
me.
turkey day. It was the gobble gobble turkey best bet.
You got me. You got
Yeah,
me. All
just
right.
but one accuracy, one accuracy.
So here we go. Here we go. Number one, the Raiders suffer another heartbreaking close loss. Baker Mayfield. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right? He
Yeah.
comes in the game after nobody wants him. He leads them to two touchdowns. He throws a beautiful touchdown pass with 10 seconds left in the game. You look at the Raiders, and the Raiders, I think, are 5-8 on the season. 7 of their 8 losses are by a touchdown or less, which is ridiculous. They've got the number 1 rusher in the league in Jacobs. They've got the number 3 receiver in I can't even remember what his name is. Devontae. Oh, we lost Phil. You know, the question is going to be, what do we do? So what do we do with the Raiders? What do you do if you're the owner that has the worst haircut in sports?
He does. Um, it's tricky. They've lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you could circle on a calendar a team or a few teams each year that either won a bunch of games they probably shouldn't have won all of them and their record is skewed to the positive, or the opposite has occurred. The Raiders fit that. The Giants fit that in the NFC with a team that's won a bunch of close games early and their record's better than it should be.
Yep.
The Raiders are better than a 5-8 team. And yeah, listen, with Adams and Jacobs and Carr, who's supposed to be a top 10 quarterback, that should easily be enough to be much better than 5-8.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
they lose games like they do to a horrible Rams team that's on a quarterback who got there a day before. And that's how you get to that record. They've lost by 5 to the Colts, 7 to the Jags. I mean, they've lost by 1 at Kansas City, 2 at Tennessee. I mean, like, they've lost a million close games. I don't think you do anything. That's the thing. I think when you make, if you can look at that and say we could easily be 8-5, and maybe they'll finish,
Easily.
maybe
Easily.
they'll finish 7-10, but they should easily be 10-7 or 11-6. Maybe they have to take a step back and say, okay, we got to tweak this team and run it back versus blow it up.
Yeah.
So maybe you got to just bring it back. Now, if it happens again next year, you got to fire the coach and fire everything that touches the team. But I think you get a second crack at it. It's Adams' first year. I think you just run it back.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Number 2, what do we make of the Lions? You know, they've won 5 of their last 6. They beat the Vikings by 11. Their only loss in the last 6 games is by 1 point to Buffalo. I mean, this is one of the hotter teams in the NFC. And what a feel good story it would be. I mean, they started off the season 1-6. They're now 6-7. No team has ever started the season off 1-6 and made the playoffs. So it's pretty interesting. And when you look at their schedule, they don't have the toughest schedule. I mean, they play the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers. What do you think this team is going to end up at if they're 6-7 now with those 4 games to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Jets and Lions, this week is pivotal, right? It's a playoff game, even though it's week whatever 15.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's huge for both these
it's
guys.
both. It's both. It's a win or go home game. Do I think? What do I think of the Lions? I mean, obviously they've won what, five of their last six. They've been a
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good team. They certainly should win at Carolina, home against the Bears, and then at Green Bay. Even I think they should probably be favored in and win. I think this game is the toughest game, and Vegas has them a pick 'em this week in New York. So I mean, the Lions are getting all the credit in the world because they just blew out Jacksonville, who's better than people think, and
yeah,
they beat Minnesota up pretty good, who's a 2 seed in the NFC.
yeah,
I think the
yeah.
Lions are a really good team. I really do. I think there's a very reasonable path to 9-8, even if they lose in New York this week. And 9-8 might get them in. So what do I think of the Lions? I think they will be in Lambeau on January 8th, playing in a win and get in setting, which will be
Interesting.
very weird that in Lambeau, the only team making the playoff that year could be the Lions.
Well, not only that, if you look at that, I think there's a legitimate chance they won't even be facing Aaron Rodgers that game.
No, they could be facing yeah, Love,
Yeah,
Mr. Jordan Love. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So number three, the Bengals have quietly won 5 in a row, 7 of 8. They're 9-4 on the season. Right now, are they the best team in the AFC?
No, but they have Kansas City's number. I I think Buffalo is the best team in the AFC. I
The
just do.
Bengals
I
are
just
just
I here's why. The Bengals are awesome and they have Kansas City's number. They've beaten Joe Burrow's beaten Mahomes 3 times in the calendar year. It's an
yeah,
amazing stat by
yeah,
three
yeah,
points each time. Amazing. But I don't see anybody going up to Buffalo in negative 34-degree weather in late January and beating Josh Allen, who's
with
who's going to just run the ball in that weather himself and be like a bulldozer
yeah,
going downhill. I just think that's, of all the matchups, that would be the most if Buffalo holds on and is the 1 seed. I
yeah, yeah.
just don't see anybody going up to Orchard Park in January and beating Buffalo. I just
Oh,
don't.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I mean, they're a really good team. They're a
Yeah,
really good team.
there's
And so
three there's three really good teams in the AFC.
yeah, yeah,
Three really good ones. Yep.
it's true. It's true. So number four, the Eagles crush the Giants to go 12-1 on the season. Eagles remaining schedule: Bears, Cowboys, Saints, and Giants again. Do you think this team is going to go 16-1?
No, I don't think so. The last game of the year they'll lose because they won't even be playing anyone. Because they'll have the 1 seed locked up. They'll have everything locked up. But I think they'll probably lose one other game. I think they'll be 14-3.
14-3.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's an amazing year. I
Oh,
think I think
it's
somebody
phenomenal.
picked them to go to the Super Bowl before the year started.
I'm gonna have to go back to the
Yeah,
tapes.
we're gonna have to go
I don't know
back to the
about that.
tapes and check that out when nobody was picking them. No
And
one.
who'd you have them playing? The Chiefs or the Bills? No, the Bills. You had
Bills.
Eagles, Bills.
It sure
Man,
looks really good right now, folks.
I don't know if the Eagles are going to be able to get past San
Wait,
Francisco,
do I have?
but
Yeah, I
we got to
have.
put it.
Yeah, look. Here's the paper, folks. You can't see it with this thing.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Bills, Eagles. This is written down back in August or early September. Bills
All right.
over
All right.
Eagles.
Stop bragging. Stop bragging. You're such a jerk today. All right, number five. Number five. The Carolina Panthers have won 3 of their last 4 and are now surprisingly 5-8 on the season after trading away all of their good players and having no quarterback. Is this team much better than we thought, or is it just kind of good luck? And and the one thing that I can't take is Sam Darnold with the red beard. I just think that looks ridiculous. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the Carolina Panthers?
I don't have thoughts on the Carolina Panthers.
You got
I
to
don't.
admit though, you got to admit that they've surprised you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really just simply gets down to when you got Sam, you got a chance, right? If you got Darnold, you got a shot.
Yeah, I remember that chant. I remember nobody ever saying that chant. All right, number 6. The Jacksonville Jaguars in 2020 were 1-15. In
Mhm.
2021 were 3-14. In 2022 so far are 5-8. So you can see the progression. Is this team potentially 2 years away from making the playoffs?
Uh, maybe next year. I mean,
You think?
yeah. I mean, listen, if again it gets down to they've built First of all, they rid themselves of the Urbanator, which was clearly a very important thing to do. And if Trevor Lawrence is finally coming into his own, maybe he's taking a little longer than people thought, but he's starting to stack some really good performances together. If you got the quarterback, we know they've picked high enough in the draft for years. They got some nice players around him now. No, I mean it's coming together. And the best thing why they can make the playoffs next year is that division's terrible.
Division is terrible. And you know what? They
So
they
they
finally
could win the division next year. They
you know
could.
what? They brought in they finally brought in a high quality coach that actually knows what he's doing too.
Seems like it, yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
that helps. That helps. All right. So let's talk about your game ball. And there were some good performances last week. And number one, the guy you just mentioned, Trevor Lawrence, 30 for 42, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown in a 36-22 dismantling at Tennessee, who was supposed to be a good team. Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 144 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a 48-22 drubbing of the New York Giants. And Evan Ingram, the former Giant, I believe, 11 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the Jaguars, again in a win at Tennessee. Who's getting your game ball last week? It seems pretty obvious.
I'll give it to Sunshine. Trevor.
I like
It's a little Remember the Titans reference there.
the Remember the Titans reference, and that was such a phenomenal football movie too. I'm just gonna put it out there. All right, now it's time.
It is time.
It's time to make money. Let's just say that last week I lost 2 days of lunch money, which I'm not really happy of.
I mean, you should have just split. I went 2-2.
I know, but
You don't bet 14 parlays. That would be insane. You gotta.
no, but let's say you bet.
I bet my bets are meant to be. You bet 500 on the first game. See if you win or lose. Oh, you won. Now you roll it into the second game. Oh, you lost.
Now you're down to
That's
zero. That's
Now
right.
you're down to zero. Now you bet five. Like you bet 500, you're back to zero.
So listen, I know you've been up, on the flight, the 6 hour flight back from LA yesterday. I know you were just looking at picks, you're looking at games. So I know you're ready. I know you're ready to go, and I can't wait to see how much money I'm gonna win this week. So let's hear it, Phil,
Wise
man.
guy, wise
Let's
guy,
hear it.
wise guy. All right, so I'm gonna start. We're gonna go. I'm picking 4 games.
Yep.
And remember, for those that are unaware, this is when the NFL starts playing games on Saturday too. So
That's right.
there's a Thursday game like always, then there's a triple header on Saturday.
Oof.
And then there's the normal NFL slate on Sunday and then the Monday nighter. I'm gonna go right to the Thursday night game and pick it. Kenny Pickett. Here we go. Here's the thing. The
Guy's
thing
got
is,
small hands, just saying.
guys get small hands. So here's the thing. Here's what I like about this game. Okay, the Niners are pretty much running away with the division, but they really can't go. Realistically, they can't go anywhere. They're kind of the 3 seed. They're probably not going to catch Minnesota for the 2 seed. They're never catching the Eagles for the 1 seed. They're not getting caught in the division. So they're kind of like one of these teams that already now needs to just get healthy and
Yep.
figure out how they can manage Brock Purdy for the next 4 weeks and get them ready for the playoffs.
He's so pretty.
Seattle's desperate. They have to win this game. They've lost a bunch of close games. They're holding on to a playoff spot or just right at the precipice of a playoff spot. Yeah, I think they're holding on to a playoff spot right now. They're 7 seed. They need this win because then the schedule gets even worse for the Seahawks. They're home. They're getting 3.5 points, and I'm going to take them. I think they're going to be good this week at home. And I think Brock Purdy off a short week, this is a tough spot. And the reason I see Seattle better win this week is they go to Kansas City next week. Then they have the Jets. This might actually, based on all things considered, be the easiest of the next 3 weeks. So I'm going to say they find a way to actually win outright, but I get 3.5, so they don't have to win outright. Next game, we're going to Saturday afternoon, 1:00 kickoff. I don't particularly, other than Kirk Cousins being a little flaky, I don't know why the Vikings are only laying 4 points against the Colts. I just think the Vikings are, their heads and tails better than the Colts.
Yep.
The Colts have nothing to play for at this point. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep it simple and take the Vikings lay 4. I don't think there's a lot to
to be worried about really in that game. I think they'll
It,
score a ton.
you know what though? That is strange, and I always like when you say, hey, Vegas knows more than we do. Only 4 points.
It seems like it's low. I'm gonna try not to overthink it and think like it's a short week, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
The next game, I'm going to this. So did I pick the Monday night game? No, the next game. Well, actually, I'm going to skip that because it's the best bet. I'm going to go with the Giant Washington Commanders game. It's the Sunday night game, and man, is there a lot playing for here. The Giants and Commanders both sit at 7-5-1. Oh, the one a tie with each other 2 weeks ago, right? I'll take 4.5 points if I'm just betting the game. I'm taking 4.5 points. They tied last week.
Yep.
2 weeks ago. The Giants should have probably won the game after being down and then coming storming back and actually having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Then they blew the game and it tied. Okay, fine. 4.5 seems too much. The Commanders are one of those teams. I love them when they're getting points. I do not like them when they're giving points. Like, I'm not all in on the Commanders, but they're a good story. They're playing good, but 4.5 is too much. It's a rival game. Both teams playing for the playoffs. 4.5 is too much. I'm taking the Giants.
All right.
And then my best bet, this is an interesting best bet. This is going to look really good or really bad, but I wanted to go with this. So here's the deal. The best bet is it's removing the two teams and it's looking at some quirky things that unfolded. And here's the quirky things. The Patriots went to Arizona Monday night. They're on a short week going back out west. I absolutely hate that for a team. I think that is absolutely, I don't have the statistics over the last 10 years of teams that were on the West Coast on a short week, went back to the West Coast to play. I can't imagine that being very good. I can't imagine that team doing very well. My main hesitation is the Raiders being the team I'm going to pick here because they've been so up and down. But we just talked about how they lost a slew of games by 3 points, 2 points, 4 points.
Yeah.
They could easily be 8-5 versus 5-8. The spread on the game is pick 'em. So Vegas is already telling you they think the Raiders are actually better than their record, right? Because usually a 5-8 team wouldn't be pick 'em against a 7-6 team. But I think the travel part is very tough. I can't imagine Belichick saw the schedule and liked the fact they played on Monday night, short week, back to California to play again. That's brutal. So I'm going to take the Raiders as my best bet, and I think that's an interesting thing to observe as the savant of the NFL. I think I'm going to take the pick 'em, and I'm going to say the Patriots don't get off the deck. And I also watched the Patriot-Arizona game, and I know I goofed when I told you let's switch to Arizona. But the first play of the game, Kyler Murray got hurt. So the pick went out the window.
Well, you know what? In all fairness to him, it was a really, really tough play that he got hurt on.
Yeah, he ran. That's how all the torn ACLs happen, though. You run, and those non-contact injuries, you're done for the year. It's guaranteed.
I know.
So those are the picks: Vikes, Seahawks,
good stuff,
Giants,
man.
Raiders.
And how much are we betting this week?
I feel good. This is where you go write a check off the home equity line of credit for $20K, and you go make some real money this week. This is one of those weeks.
Good man. I look forward to seeing it, man. I look forward to seeing it. But good stuff on the NFL there. I wanted to end with just two feel good stories. It's like we're the news, right? It's like 15 minutes of like murder and crime, and then it's 5 minutes of sports, 3 minutes of weather, and then you got the feel good story at the very end, right? To bring it all back. So I wanted to congratulate my man Josh Johnson, the former Jet, although he's pretty much played for every team. Congratulations on extending your record and being signed to your 14th different NFL team in the NFL. He's also played in the XFL, the UFL, and the AAF, not to mention he's really good at Madden on PlayStation. So this is a guy in his career, he's 205 for 205 out of 353 for 2,270 yards, 13 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and his career record is 1-8 as a starter. All right. Yet he's played for 14 different NFL teams and has made $8 million. So if there's a guy that knows how to work the system, it's Josh Johnson. And congratulations, he actually got to throw a pass last week. I think it was incomplete, but I thought that was impressive. And then I also wanted to congratulate Jameson Williams, the former #1 pick drafted after he was on the shelf. Well, he finally gets into his first game, and what does he do on his one and only catch of the season? 41-yard touchdown pass. So good stuff. I like seeing feel-good stories like that where guys are coming back and you know, and able to do things. And I hope that he's able to have a nice career. So that's it. I got stuff that we didn't get through. I know I wanted to still talk about the Hall of Fame, and I wanted to talk about Deion Sanders going to Colorado and some high-profile college football transfers, which is kind of interesting. But we'll talk about that next week. But another great episode. Hope
Hold
everybody
on,
makes
wait
a lot of
1
money. Yeah.
second,
Oh,
1
yeah. What do you
second.
got? What do you got? That's
Well,
2 seconds. When
I
when
want to
do
get
that.
you on the record. I want to get you on the record. Jets, Lions, what do you got? I'm the one who always makes the picks and puts my neck out on the line.
That's
I want
so
you in
tough.
a spot.
What's the spread in this game
Pick
anyway?
them. Pick them.
It's a pick 'em game. You know, there's so many question marks with the Jets. You know, is it, you know, the thing that
Mike White's gonna play. I mean, he's got bruised ribs.
yeah, the thing that scares me about this is Quinn Williams,
Yeah, I don't
because
know if he's playing.
he's unblockable, and when he's out of the game, their defense is good, not as good. I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. You know, it's a really, really, really tough call. And you know, you look at how Detroit has been playing; they've been playing really well. You look at the Jets' defense; Jets' defense has been really well. It's going to come down to, are they able to protect Mike White? Are they able to give him some time in the pocket and maybe not hurt him? I have a bad feeling that he's going to get tackled and he's going to end up coming out of the game, and Zach Wilson is going to have to play. So at the end of the day, as much as I love the Jets and I'm a diehard Jets fan, I think that Quinn Williams isn't going to play. I think that Mike White is going to end up getting hurt, which means Zach Wilson is going to come in, and I think he's going to suck. And I think this is going to be the game that really cements his future as not being a Jet anymore. And so I'm going to say it's a close game, but in the end, I'm going to say that I think Detroit's going to beat him.
Everyone run to the bank. Jets pick them. Jets pick them. Run to the bank. You heard it from the mush that is Darren Michael. I don't have a feel for the game. I there's more question marks on the Jet side, 100%.
That's the real problem. You know, that's the real problem. And honestly, if Mike White gets hit and he has to come out of the game, then that's it. Because I can't see.
What
I don't
a story it would be though if it's old Zachy back deep, go touchdown.
Could you imagine? But he's no Baker Mayfield, you know? He's no Baker Mayfield. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, thanks for making us some money, Phil, this week. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna tap out my home equity line right now and take out 20K, because that's what you told me to do. I'm try to hide that from my wife and sneak the 20K back in before she notices. But I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I think we had a lot of fun. Have a great weekend. Enjoy 4 days of football. Thursday, 3 games on Saturday, a whole slate on Sunday, and then a game on Monday. This is how football should be. We need a Friday game too, so that we've got 5 straight days of football. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, have a great week, everybody. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell people you like, tell people you don't like. Just enjoy yourselves. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.